Why do we need to spend taxpayer dollars on investigating whether or not the guy's a liar or whether or not he's fit for public office? The man should resign, and we should move on and put someone else there that's fit to serve.
I don't condone his activity. I think he should resign.
House Majority Leader Eric Cantor this afternoon saying Anthony Weiner should resign. Republican Party Chairman Reince Priebus saying Anthony Weiner should resign. Neither man thinks this person should resign. Senator David Vitter, the hooker guy. And yes, I keep his picture in my office. Keeps me grounded. Here to help me understand the Republican Party congressional leadership and party leadership saying it's totally kosher for this guy to be in the Senate, but Anthony Weiner must resign, is a man who is earning his keep tonight, MSNBC political analyst and former RNC chairman, Michael Steele. Oh, Mr. Steele, please help me out here.
Look, you don't want me to give you the insights on the leadership, that's for sure.
Well,
I don't think they'd appreciate my views that well. But
do you think they're wrong in this?
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think there's a level of inconsistency here, to be polite about it. I've always felt very strongly that when you have been blessed with the public trust through the vote of the people in your district or your state, you honor that trust every day. And whether your name is Vitter or Weiner, and there's a whole commercial we could probably do on just those two names, the reality of it is, in fact, that trust applies to you too. And the consequences of breaking that trust should be equally applied to you. So I heard what the chairman said today, and I thought it was a little bit not right. You can't look at one case and say that this behavior warrants dismissal or you should quit, and look at another one that may be a degree or two more egregious, and not see that same requirement of removing yourself from office. So a pox on both their houses, because it violates the very public trust that the people sent them to Washington and to their state capitals to uphold.
Anthony Weiner, to me, it seems important to me that Anthony Weiner does not have a political hypocrisy problem here. He's never campaigned as a family values guy. He's never said, vote for me because I am a sexual morality role model and because my ideas about sexual morality are superior. And to me, that makes it less newsworthy.
Well,
It's newsworthy that he lied, and I think that it's an important issue with his private life. But this hypocrisy matters, I think, doesn't it?
No, it does. And you raise actually two interesting points for me. One goes to an argument that I've made inside the party for a good 15 years now, and the other goes to your first point, and that is, I don't know if Vitter or Ensign or any of these gentlemen ran saying that I'm morally superior, I'm a better family guy or family man. Yeah, everybody puts out the images of their families and together, and the kids on the front porch and all of that. And I wouldn't necessarily extrapolate from that this is but this gets to the second point.
Can I just make one quick factual point, which is that they both said that Bill Clinton should resign from office because of his affair, and both of them, certainly David Vitter even more recently, but I also think John Ensign sponsored amendments, sponsored legislation so that gay people can't get married. So
right, and again, I mean, and I get that in the context of once they're in office. But the question is, how did they approach that? And maybe they made those points. And this gets to my second point: is I've always had a problem with any political party espousing a morality that they are not ordained to espouse. In other words, I go to my minister, my rabbi, my imam to have my faith lifted, to have that moral code instilled. I do not go to my politician for that. And so when you get on that horse and you want to ride that horse very much like we saw our good buddy Mr. Colbert do last night trying to load his gun, you spill stuff everywhere. And it always comes back to bite you right on the butt in a way that you have to stand in front of that camera and look the people in the eye and go, well, I told you to do one thing while I was doing something else, and that is not a position you want to be in.
Well, when Republicans talk strategy, though, does that come up. I mean, nobody believes me when it doesn't.
No.
I mean, like Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee sends out a shirtless picture of himself on the internet on Gawker. Nobody believes this is true, but you can check with my staff. The notes are there from our news meeting. We would not have put that on the air. It would not have been newsworthy, in my estimation, had he not resigned. His resignation made it newsworthy because he took an act that affected the United States House. But other than that, I think it would have been private. Republicans can't see that they're buying themselves a little insurance by laying off about other people's marriages?
Well, I agree with I just think it's a place you don't need to be as a political institution to delve into those types of issues. And when they do come out, I think you do have to be respectful and handle them in a very interesting way, but a very important way. But the interesting thing for me about the Representative Lee was how the leadership in this instance actually got him to resign before the people largely knew what it was he was resigning over. And so that was an instance where, Speaker Boehner was very proactive. And I think it speaks to him and how he looks at these things. And again, you go back, you look at Nancy Pelosi coming in saying that she was going to clean up this Republican cesspool. All the while, Mr. Weiner was engaging in this kind of behavior, sometimes in his congressional office. That's the type of hypocrisy in politics when we get on that slippery slope of being holier than thou.
But when Nancy Pelosi found out about this, she's demanding that there be an ethics investigation.
That's now. I'm talking about then, and this is the point.
But
you
this
don't
is when
know,
as soon as she found out about it, she called for the investigation. What else should she have done?
I get that totally. I get that. But what I'm talking about when Pelosi ran, when the Democrats ran to take control 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, they ran on this issue. We're going to clean up the cesspool. These flagrant violations of ethics rules within the House. All the while, members within their own party were engaged in that activity, and that's why you need to be very careful in how you go to the public to approach these issues, because they do come back to bite.
I think people screwing up is inevitable in life and in politics. Maybe more inevitable in politics because people get into politics who think very highly of themselves often, and that often goes along with bad behavior. So I think that's going to happen. I think the ethical issue is how you handle it when it arises, and that's why the Reince Priebus thing actually makes my eyes cross. For him to say, John Ensign, who knows, David Vitter, who cares, but Anthony Weiner, he's got to go. I feel like that is almost an unpardonable humiliation for somebody in the position that
but the thing is, the other side of this coin too, Rachel, is the fact that he's the party chairman. So he's not going to throw his guys under the bus. That's the politics of it. Just as the Democrats didn't want to throw the Louisiana congressman with $90,000 in the freezer under the bus, they wanted to promote him. The fact of the matter is, the political institutions, when one of their own gets in that crosshairs, does tend to try to protect them and others in some manner. I think to your broader point with respect to both Democrats and Republicans, enough is enough. When you screw it up like this, you got to be prepared to pay the piper in a big way. And with respect to Representative Weiner coming on your show, looking you in the eye, and lying directly to you and ostensibly the American people, that is an unpardonable sin as an elected official.
Well, if it's unpardonable, I am going to start wearing this as a mask every day until we start enforcing that as a pardonable sin on both sides of the aisle.
But I'm not exonerating Vitter or anyone else on that.
But you didn't give back. You took money from his PAC and didn't give it back after this all came out and everything in 2006 when you were running for Senate. I mean, nobody's been calling for him to resign. You never called for him to resign when you were party chairman.
No, I didn't. And again, it goes to that point about you're going to the political part of this, the politics of it, is that you take care of your own as best you can.
You do unprincipled things because you're running the party and you're not modeling good behavior.
It's not. But it's not. But wait a minute. No. Don't. I'm not taking it that way. What I'm just saying is that there are two competing interests in this dynamic, and you saw it played out this week. And you don't have the cavalcade of Democrats rushing to get Weiner out of the House. You have those who stood with him, and you can't tell me they didn't have some inkling, if they were that close to him, of what some of his behavior was.
Nobody is supporting him. Nobody's taking his back. Everybody's saying that they ought to investigate him. I realize that it's...
They're not saying... No one's supporting him publicly. But that silence, that lack of a call for his resignation, that lack of a call for action beyond the Speaker.
They're calling for an investigation into him. I mean,
beyond the Speaker
and the chair of the House Democrats campaign committee and Harry Reid today saying if he called me for advice, I'd tell him to call somebody else. No, I understand that it's a sort of pox on both their houses is the popular thing to do here, but the Republicans have such a bigger problem on this, name David Vitter, than the Democrats do on Michael Weiner, Anthony Weiner.
I just on that final point, I think the one thing that Cantor and others have said is true. At the end of the day, and this will be the case for Congressman Weiner, it will be the people of his district who will ultimately decide his political fate. If he decides to stay in the office and run for re-election, they will have the chance to cast their opinion, their vote, one way or the other on his behavior and his actions. The same was true with Vitter. The same has been true for others. In the case of Ensign, it was very clear that was beyond anything the voters were going to do. He had legal and ethical committee issues that were about to come pouncing on his head. So he took that way up. But I'm just saying, ultimately, it all comes home to roost for these guys, either at the ballot box or in their caucus in some way.
And to have Reince Priebus saying that Anthony Weiner's the guy who has to quit, but John Ensign, oh well, he went on his own terms. Man, this is a Republican This is a Republican problem right now. Michael Steele, MSNBC political analyst, former RNC chairman. I enjoy talking to you very much when we agree and when we disagree, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely, Rachel.
All right, we'll be right back.